Maryland senator. How is the campaigning going, Mr.? I see your truck around all the time. I think it's your truck. Do you have a caravan? Do you have a fleet of vehicles that say Steve Waugh?
Actually, we kind of do. Thanks. Good morning. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. My pickup is the one with the full red wrap around the bed, and then there's about 8 other pickups that have a tailgate on the back of it. So it's like the world's largest bumper sticker.
Right.
But it's a lot of fun.
So we were just talking off air, and Steve's prior career to before pursuing politics was flying Harrier jets, and I've always been amazed by those things with the vertical takeoff and the vertical landing, and that's
who makes the Harrier?
Well, the airplanes that I flew were made cooperatively by McDonnell Douglas and British Aerospace. They were actually constructed in St. Louis by McDonnell Douglas. They kind of exchanged parts, but the American jets were made in St. Louis.
Okay. With beer, too. Harrier jets and beer in St. Louis.
Each jet came with a 6-pack.
Yeah, I imagine there were a couple of beers there on the production
all right.
line.
So we're talking with Steve Waugh, and you are again running for Senate. Why? What do you want to do?
Well, quite honestly, the state has gone horribly off track, and there's a lot of people out there that are getting hurt. They're being driven out of the state by the thousands. I mean, people, businesses, retirees. I mean, my mom just bought a retirement home in Colorado because the tax situation here is killing people.
Tax or marijuana? Be honest about your mother.
Pretty sure it's taxes. Pretty sure it's taxes.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, I hear that a lot, and that is something that I've talked.
How do you stop it, though? How do you stop it? I mean, where do you think the biggest taxes are that are driving people out? I mean, is it the businesses that are being driven out so the people go as well? I mean, I hear that a lot. The people are leaving.
It's a variety of reasons. The businesses are motivated by different taxes than the individuals, and people who are working are motivated by different taxes than retirees. Retirees are driven largely by property taxes.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So like when Peter Francho, who is the comptroller,
right.
who, by the way, the comptroller is basically the accountant for the state. So if anybody knows the money of the state, it's going to be the comptroller. And he's telling us that we're going to get a 67% property tax increase.
He said it on this show.
Yeah, he's said it more than a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to hurt retirees probably more than anybody. I
Well,
mean, anyone who
I don't
owns
know how
property, it's
anybody
going to hurt.
can afford that.
Well, in fairness, what he said was that to keep things balanced, they would have to increase taxes 67%.
Not that it was coming.
Might not happen, but that would be what it would take to get things squared away.
If they go through the traditional route, the way that the legislature has solved things in the past, it'll end up as a property tax increase. The alternative is to do a significant budget cut and then fix the debt bill. So far, they haven't demonstrated any willingness to do anything quite so creative or bold. So I think it's a fair bet that it's going to end up as a property tax. If you send the same people back to Annapolis, it'll be a property tax. And the way that hurts retirees, friends of mine are retirees here in the area. I'm a military retiree. Retirees, the older folks, they own their home. They own it outright.
Sure, they've paid it off.
Right. And so all they have to do is their major expense is the property tax.
Exactly.
Well, you crank that up 67%, and you're going to drive a lot of folks out of the state, So
Well, it's for a lot of people, and this is, I'm not exaggerating. I don't think Annapolis understands this, but for a lot of people, if you take their property tax and increase it 67%,
that's huge. That really is huge.
Better than average chance they may lose their property. They might not be able to meet that tax bill, which means then their property would go to a tax sale, and their entire retirement is tied up in that property. So that is a huge swing in state wealth from the individual to the state. And that's not good.
Yeah, it's enormous, and it's going to hurt a lot of operations, family operations like family farms.
Yeah,
I mean, if you own a lot of land, big property tax increase is just going to crush you.
Let me ask you this: if elected, you go to Annapolis. What are some of the taxes that you would even have a shot at repealing?
Well, if if we elect Larry Hogan, and right now I'm really excited.
I heard the other day it's like a 2% gap now between the two. Some
It's
polling,
a lot closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Some polling organization,
Gonzalez
is what you're absolutely right. It shows only a 2% gap.
Yeah,
so.
it's really exciting, and the level of excitement and interest in the race. I mean, obviously now it's a national race. You can watch Fox News, and they're actually watching the Maryland State race. This is we got a game going on here, and I believe that if Larry Hogan is elected governor, I think that we have a great opportunity to roll back any number of taxes.
Which ones?
And,
I want to know which
pick
ones.
one. I think actually the rain tax is probably the easiest one to undo because it's really not bringing in enough revenue to be that significant. So it should be an easy one to get rid of.
But that's a federal mandate, correct? That's,
no.
Okay, tell me about the rain tax.
Let's clear that up. Last night.
Oh, God, my info's wrong then. Steve seems
no,
sure.
Well, it's good that you do this
it was
because
EPA. I thought it was an EPA mandate that was handed down from Obama's administration.
I saw Anthony Brown get all indignant when he was talking with Larry Hogan about the rain tax, and he said, "Well, it's offensive to call it a rain tax. It's a wastewater tax, and it's simply based on population." So clear it up.
Go ahead.
Let's think about it this way: the governor of Texas flew to Maryland to make fun of us because we have a rain tax.
I remember when he was here. Yeah, he's down the road.
If it was a federal mandate, it would apply to Texas. It does not.
Good point.
Well, there are different.
The problem is there
okay,
are
then
EPA
explain
mandates.
Then explain to me how the rain tax came about. Because are you saying there was no federal, nothing from the EPA, and nothing that came down from the Obama administration?
There are
EPA
this? Mandates for this, and Roy Dyson last night basically took responsibility for the rain tax during the debate, and he stood up and said, "Yeah, we passed it out of my committee." So. It's based upon EPA mandates for stormwater management, and the EPA, I'm sure many people are getting pretty upset about, is really, really going crazy with trying to manage not just the interstate and intercoastal waters. The EPA now wants to manage the pond in your backyard. Mm-hmm. So,
but that's where it came from. It came from these mandates.
The mandates require additional expenditures. They do not require a rain tax.
Additional expenditures. Where could the expenditures come from?
Well, the money, basically speaking, in Larry Hogan's plan and in my plan, and what I've been advocating for a long time, is to simply stop growing government. Last year, we grew the budget $1.886 billion. Okay? That is a lot of money.
Where are the employees? Where? I mean, that's what we're talking about,
yeah,
right? We're talking employees. So
some of it's employees, but most of it is just handouts. Most of the money actually goes into Health and Human Services, and a good chunk of that is welfare checks. So the state is collecting money, writing checks, and handing it out. And in fact, all of the money that we are collecting right now for the rain tax and for the flush tax and for all of these other things that are Save the Bay, we have not taken care of the number one contributor, which is the Conowingo Dam, that has not been dredged. So, anyway, getting back to
because everything is backing up in the big pool that is in front of it needs to be dredged out so the sediment can come in because sediment has...
Exactly, yeah. You build a dam, sediment's going to deposit behind it. It was built in 29 and it's never been dredged.
Why should Southern Maryland care about the Conowingo Dam?
Because every time it rains in Pennsylvania, water washes over that dam and tons of sediment come washing over and it chokes the bay. It's killing off the grasses, it kills off the oysters. And, we're losing the ecosystem inside of the water that pretty much the whole state revolves around.
Why aren't they dredging it?
I don't know.
There's no reason?
This mystifies me.
Yeah.
And what we need is we need some dedicated leaders. And I'll tell you that Larry Hogan has made this his top environmental priority. And, I've been talking about it. This is something where we need to get a lot of people up there like Matt Morgan and Deb Ray. And I got to give a shout out to my friend Matt Morgan, who's sign waving over in Charlotte Hall right now.
All right. Well, let's compare oranges to oranges. Let's say you win and go to Annapolis. What are you going to do differently than the folks that are already there?
Let's say you're in and Hogan's out. I know that just makes you nervous. But let's say you get in, but you are still working with Anthony Brown, who is much like O'Malley. What are you going to do to make a difference?
Well, actually, I would say that Anthony Brown is the third term of O'Malley. I don't know that there's any difference between them at all. But the important difference is that you got to have a guy up there who's going to work hard every day, who's going to build the relationships and actually try to get things done. And I'll tell you, as a Marine, I frequently, in fact, when I was stationed here at Nav Air for 6 years as a Marine inside of a Navy command, you have certain challenges because you ain't one of them. But it paled in comparison to my experience as a Marine at an Air Force command. when you show up, you pretty much get thrown into the back bench. Well, within 30 days, I was put in charge of the Air Force headquarters.
Okay.
So it's a matter of showing up and demonstrating that you're engaged. You're not there just to shoot people and yell and scream. It's a matter of, hey, this is the priority. This is what's important. We need to get this done. And then making the other folks see the light. You got to bring them to the light and show them how does this issue, how does this fix affect their constituents inside of their districts. And when you can articulate that passionately and effectively, you'll get things done.
How you tell a governor, a sitting governor, that, listen, this windmill farm, you can't put it up because you're going to be jeopardizing the second biggest economic engine in the state of Maryland. How are you going to convince a governor who says, no, we need the wind. We don't need PACs. We need the wind. As
where
does the Marine come into play there? Is it just shooting it up?
I gotta say with Martin O'Malley, you just can't fix stupid. I believe that, and let's say worst case, we're looking at Lieutenant Governor Brown. Lieutenant Governor Brown at least has some experience as an Army officer. I believe he was a lawyer. I think he was in the JAG, but he has some kind of idea what goes on. I think I can have a discussion with him about radar and testing ranges, and I think that we can make an argument with him that will resonate, and I would hope it would get out. I just don't think it's that complicated. Everyone else seems to get it.
Well, okay.
Well, everybody in the General Assembly gets it.
That's exactly my point, and you're spot on correct on this. I was never in the military. I didn't fly Harrier jets.
Right.
I get it. So there is a disconnect, and I don't know if it's just they simply don't care or what the deal is.
Well, I hate to say it, but I believe there is a possibility that there is partisan politics involved in this.
That's what it is.
And I believe that specifically in the case of Martin O'Malley, he is more interested in running for president than he is acting as governor. That might be our major driver. Now, I would hope that if we have a Governor Brown, God help us, but if we had him, that he would be more interested in being governor at least for a couple of years.
Yeah. One of the points we keep circling around here is the mindset in Annapolis, and how do you possibly change that? How do you scale that mountain? Of all the politicians we've had in here, I haven't had a single one that comes in and says, you know what? I think we're on the right track. So if everybody is in agreement that things are not where they should be in this state, monetarily, tax-wise, you pick it. Why doesn't anything change?
Well, you keep sending the same people back to Annapolis. If you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, you're insane. So, if you have an incumbent like Roy Dyson walk in here and say, yeah, things are terrible, all of those people in Annapolis are crazy, well, you're one of them. And same with John Bohannon.
But you'll be one of them too. But you'll be one of them too, because we have a majority, a Democrat majority. What was it yesterday? The super majority.
Correct.
You have that in Annapolis.
Correct.
So, you may find yourself hitting, your head up against a wall.
Do you still have access to a Harrier jet?
Right.
Well, actually, I do a lot of work now in third-party targeting of long-range weapon systems. So
nice.
Those coordinates might get changed.
You might want to keep those relationships open.
But what I'm saying, you'll be one of those.
Well, my wife actually is very concerned about how frustrated I might become going up there and dealing with folks.
Yes.
But you just got to put your head down. It's how hard are you willing to work to get things done, or do you want to just lean back and say, oh, well, I can't fix it, and I'm just not one of those guys. And that's why I'm running, is that I was unwilling to watch the state continue to go further and further off track and get crazy, so I had to get involved.
We're talking with Steve Waugh, who is running for state senate. We got a couple minutes left here. Points, things you want people to know specifically about you before they go and vote.
Well, Steve Waugh, let me see, retired Marine. Flew Harriers, as we've talked about. I'm very proud to serve the country and fight the nation's wars overseas. Proud husband, father of 2 young men, and actually I'm very proud of my second son, Philip, is a sophomore at the University of Maryland up in College Park, and he's doing really well, and that's exciting. And my older son, Nicholas, is in flight school,
Oh,
Wow.
really?
And he just got jets in Pensacola. So
Going with the family business.
Family business.
Good
It's very
for him.
yeah. That's really cool. And
That is
it's
great.
fun when he calls me up and he's just like, "Hey, Poppy, I got to plan a flight tomorrow from Miramar to Yuma. How do I do it?" And I start telling him all the departure procedures. He's like, "How do you remember this stuff?" But
That's great.
I worked on base. If the base is the important thing, I worked on that base for 15 years. We need to have somebody who's going to go up to Annapolis that's actually going to get the job done. If we have guys that come back and say, well, those folks are crazy and it's just too bad and it's all horrible, that's not what we need. We need someone who's just going to buckle down and get the work done. So I'm hoping to be that guy.
Okay. Well, listen, his name is Steve Waugh. He's running for state senate. Remember the name when you go to vote for him. If you like what you heard, check that little box and go accordingly. 11 minutes in front of 8 o'clock, 7:49. Let's check the road, see what's going on.